Welcome to the SPE Podcast, powered by the Society of Petroleum Engineers. You're listening to the October 2023 episode of the SPE President's Podcast, Creating Our Energy Future, with SPE President Terry Palisch. And now your moderator, SPE Senior Manager of Communication and Energy Education, Paige McCowan.
Welcome to the Society of Petroleum Engineers Podcast with the SPE 2024 President Terry Palisch. I'm Paige McCowan, Senior Manager of Communication and Energy Education at SPE. Today, I'll be talking with Terry about his thoughts on how SPE and its members fit into the energy transition and what it means for our energy future. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Paige. It's good to talk to you.
You too. I think this is going to be an exciting episode. It's very timely.
I think so. Yeah, exactly.
So before we dig into the topic today, I know SPE has a board meeting this month at the annual technical conference and exhibition in San Antonio. Can you tell us a little bit more about the goals for this meeting?
Yeah, let me maybe just start by talking about kind of format. So the board meets 4 times a year officially. We, as you said, are meeting soon in San Antonio at the ATC. So we meet once a year at the ATCE. We meet twice a year at the location chosen by the president. And then we meet once virtually in January. And the two that are chosen in the spring and summer are typically very strategic. They typically we look to support the region or the section, the local companies. As an example, this year in the spring, we're in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia in March, and then Kuala Lumpur this summer. And those were the first times we visited the Middle East and Asia Pacific in several years. So it was important to get back to those regions and meet with local leaders. As far as the goals for the meetings, we typically have 2 full days of committee meetings. We have some minor committees, as well as our 2 primary committees, technical content and membership engagement. And the primary goal is to work with senior staff on, to see how we're performing relative to our strategies, as well as, setting strategy and understanding where we're headed. When we met in KL in July, our 2 primary committees that I mentioned, they spend at least half their time discussing the new strategic plan and developing action items to help make sure that we continue to meet our members and our constituencies' needs. I'll just give you one example, and we'll be talking about it again in San Antonio. The Technical Content Committee, one of their primary questions is, how do we continue to evolve our event formats? How do we stay up and implement new technologies of the day so that we can continue to meet our attendees and our exhibitors and our sponsors' expectations and provide value to them? So we actually have a work group in place to answer this. But, just overall, it's a fairly intense 3 days of meetings, along with some meeting with local companies and local leaders.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I know those are pretty intense and you guys do a lot of work towards it. So you mentioned that the board tries to be strategic and support the local regions. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Probably be easiest just to give you some examples. Last summer, we were in Amsterdam. When we were there, we met with Shell. We toured their Shell Energy Transition Center, got to see what they're doing. In ATC in Houston last fall, we met with ExxonMobil executives, discussed their activities and toured their spring campus and labs. In Dhahran, we toured the Aramco Shaiba field in the empty quarter. It was a great visit. We visited their technology center. And then we also, in addition to that, try to engage with local leaders. So in Kuala Lumpur in July, we hosted a panel discussion with the Asia Pacific Advisory Council. We have several of those councils across the world. This particular council is very active in the region. It's led by Adif Zulkifli, the Executive Vice President of Petronas. And, he was joined in this panel by executives from ExxonMobil, Shell, Hess, SLB, Pertamina. And they just relayed to us just how important it is for operators in the region to bring energy to the local region and the area, particularly natural gas, but also just how important it is for them and what they're doing to decarbonize their operations. So it was a great discussion. I think it was great to meet the local leaders and support them. And I, of course, can't thank Petronas enough for their hospitality and hosting us.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think it's really important for the SPE board to be involved in the regions. And I think our members appreciate your involvement where they work and the companies that employ them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So recently also, I read an article on JPT website that you led a delegation to Beijing for a week of meetings. I know that's an important region for our members. Can you tell us a little bit about the purpose?
Absolutely. So just by way of background, SPE first entered China in 1979. Today we have 6 sections, 14 student chapters, and a good presence there. And since we were in the region at Kuala Lumpur, I decided to take a delegation to China. We had a group made up of a couple of board members as well as senior staff. And really the primary purpose was to re-meet with leadership of the NOCs. We would need to re-engage after COVID. It was really the first time we'd been back, and really wanted to hear their concerns, what they're working on, their concerns for the future, and just how SPE can help. It was a great week. We met with several high-level delegations, Sinopec, CNOC, RIPED. We met with Aramco Asia and toured their lab. And then, of course, the week culminated with a face-to-face meeting with Dr. Ho Chim Jun, who's the president of CNPC. He was a gracious host. He not only took time out of his busy schedule to meet with us, but also was our host for arriving in China. So, but I will say this, in all cases, we heard how important it is for the NOCs to be bringing energy to China in all forms. But in particularly, they want to continue to grow their oil and natural gas reserves and production. They need to meet the needs of China's growing economy. They see the need for technologies. China's always been big in EOR, but they continue to see new technologies there. They are looking at developing their unconventional resources or continuing to look at offshore growth. But in addition to those energy supply concerns, they're also very big in looking into CCUS. They want to lower their carbon footprint. One of the reasons we are having a CCUS workshop in the next spring in China, and they were very pleased to hear that we were leading that. I will say that all the leaders that we met with are very appreciative of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. They see SP as the ideal mechanism for disseminating information, for helping them develop new technologies, providing a platform for innovative collaboration, as both at the local level as well as across the globe. So just a great visit, and it was really good to meet the leaders, and I'm excited for where we're headed in China.
Yeah, that does. That sounds very exciting. So I know it's a very important region again. So thank you for those updates. I know members are always curious about how the board works. So we'll be looking forward to your monthly updates in your podcast episodes. So let's get to our topic. So in September, in your September podcast episode, you mentioned your presidential theme, creating our energy future. What is our energy future in the context of today's energy transition environment? Yeah.
So, I recently attended the SPE's inaugural Energy Transition Symposium in Houston. It was a 2-day symposium. It included panel sessions, executive discussions, keynotes. It was technical papers, and it was a great event. It brought together a great mix of almost 200 engineers, scientists, managers, executives from all walks of life, both in our industry as well as outside. We had many non-members there, many attendees that were new to an SP event, and they all came together to really discuss our industry's role in the energy transition. And there were several themes that came out. One overarching theme was that the world is going to need increasing amounts of energy. We have growing population. We have emerging developing countries. And the other part of that is that there was general agreement that oil and gas is going to be needed to meet these demands. How much oil and gas is debatable, but tremendous needs for oil and gas in the future. And the other part of that theme, the other theme that came out is carbon capture and storage is going to be critical to reducing CO2 emissions. So we also heard that, there's just really no transition without the engineers and scientists in our industry. And that was a key theme for us. I just want to say that again. We heard that there is no transition without the engineers and scientists in our industry. And why is that? Well, because we need to not only grow our oil and gas production, but also we are critical to reducing CO2 emissions through carbon capture and storage and other decarbonization of our operations. For those in our industry, I just want to say that our future is very bright based on what I heard there, whether it's to continuing finding innovative ways to recover more hydrocarbons, or to use our petroleum engineering skills to grow CCS and geothermal, or just to flat out reduce our carbon footprint of our operations like we're doing now. The key to our energy future will be technology and collaboration. That was the key theme that came out at the end of the symposium in Houston.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great key message there. And I think a lot of our members, our younger members and our student members are concerned about that. So based on what you learned and what you know, how do petroleum engineers and our members create their energy future in this context?
Well, as I said before, the world's going to need more oil and gas. And to be able to produce the additional oil and natural gas, we're going to need to continue advancing technologies we're working with today. Those technologies in all aspects of our discipline, whether it's drilling or completions, formation, evaluation, production, reservoir, they're all critical. And we know that without technology, we won't be able to meet those needs. We are also needed, petroleum engineers, our industry, for decarbonization efforts. I mentioned them a little bit before. We are well suited to help solve, making geothermal economic, drilling, completion, reservoir, all those are important. Of course, carbon capture and storage, critical, right in our wheelhouse. So petroleum engineers can participate in that. And then we just have, methane emissions reduction, flaring reduction, things like that. It's important to our future that we develop technologies that not only increase the oil and gas reserves, but also reduce our environmental footprint. I think about safety and how safety has become a part of our culture. So sustainability and the environment need to do that as well. And we are doing that as we speak. I think companies are embracing that, and petroleum engineers are embracing that. But the thing to keep in mind is that technology changes fast, and it's changing ever quicker as we go in the future. And our members, we must engage in the practice of lifelong learning. And if they do that, I think they can create their energy future in any context they desire within the energy spectrum.
So you mentioned it just a second ago about engaging in lifelong learning. How else or how more can SPE help its members create their energy future?
Yeah. Well, let me first say that SPE exists to serve its members and their companies. It's to help them advance their technical skills and their professional competencies in their jobs. Just like I've talked about the gym membership, this is to help your professional side. No matter what the future holds, SPE will continue to meet the diverse regional needs of all of our members across the globe. Our members come from all aspects of the business: oil and gas development, sustainability, and related energies. Our industry and our members are uniquely positioned to solve the three-way challenge of providing affordable, secure, and decarbonized energy to the world. We're going to need tremendous advancements in oil and gas recovery, as I mentioned before, in order to meet the energy demand. And we're also going to need expertise in decarbonizing our operations. To accomplish this need for lifelong learning, SPE members are going to need to continue to build their technical competence, whether they're reading papers or attending conferences or workshops or training. But they're also going to need to collaborate. As we mentioned earlier, collaboration is going to be key. There's obviously plenty of opportunities provided by SPE Connect or joining one of our 22 technical sections, whether it be petroleum engineering related, like hydraulic fracturing technical section, or just some of the newer ones, like geothermal or CCS or hydrogen. But in the end, by exercising the benefits and offerings of SPE in these areas, you can create your energy future, and SPE will be there to provide those.
So what would you say if you could talk directly to our young members about this? What would be your advice or what would you tell them?
Well, I visited many sections and student chapters, and one thing I can say is the young members are all excited about our industry, just like the seasoned members are as well. They all want to be part of a solution to providing affordable, secure, decarbonized energy to the world. They all want to be doing something that's meaningful, and I think they're excited about it. But we need to remember that it's going to take the best and the brightest minds to solve this. So those of you that are looking at our industry, our students, or are new to our industry, you're the future, and you're going to be bringing these new technologies. So I want to encourage everyone to take advantage of SPE to increase their technical knowledge and expertise, as well as to collaborate, work with their peers. This is how you'll advance your career. This is how you'll allow all of us to create our energy future. I'd also like to just take a moment to encourage everyone to go out and get at least one SP member. How about make that a goal? And by adding to our membership, it will improve our knowledge base. It'll improve our ability to collaborate, and ultimately it'll improve our professional competencies. SPE is going to continue to evolve to be a part of the sustainable energy future and ensure the careers for future generations.
That's a great positive message, and I think a lot of people will be happy to hear you say that. So, Terry, what's on tap for next month's podcast episode?
Yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and try to dive a little bit deeper into some of the new technology and collaboration that's needed for the future of oil and gas. And really just kind of how your membership and how our membership helps improve the technical competencies. We'll dive a little bit deeper into, how SPE is delivering technical content, kind of some of the things we're looking at in the future, as well as how do we provide the networking opportunities to our members to help what some call the energy trilemma. We'll talk a little bit about that. I kind of like to call it the energy opportunity. It's the energy opportunity for us, and it's the opportunity for us to create our energy future.
Thank you, Terry. Thanks for giving us a glimpse into your thoughts on the energy transition and how our members fit into it. I know it's a big topic of conversation, and it sounds like we'll be continuing on this topic in episodes to come.
Thanks, Paige. It's always good to catch up with you. You
too. Terry will be doing monthly podcasts, which you can find each episode with transcripts on the first of every month on SPE's JPT website and in the monthly digital edition of JPT.